All right, guys, let's talk about a really cool option that is now on the optic market. Now, full disclosure, while I go ahead and clear this rifle, I do have a good relationship with Zerotech Optics, and they did send this optic out. However, if you've watched any of my past videos, you know that I'm generally not too biased, and I'm gonna give you a straight up honest experience and review of said product. But take everything that you see online, whether it's a video or audio or pictures or a blog or whatever, anything you see, read, or hear online, take it with a grain of salt, because you don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and there's a bunch of shady stuff that goes on online. So even what I say, take with a grain of salt, because there might be some bias that is unintentional. You never know. But I'm going to try to be as honest as I can on this product. I'm gonna give you some cons. It ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It ain't all positive. There ain't nothing that's perfect except Jesus Christ. Now, let's go ahead and run over the technical specs of it, some of them. So the weight of it is like 19¼ ounces for those that care about that. The length is like 6.06 inches. Eye relief is 3 inches, a little bit more on that in just a minute. And then it is a 1:4 power by 24, this front lens right here. Can't really have like they don't give a tube diameter, because I don't really know. Again, a little bit more on that in just a minute. So again, it's a 1:4 power by 24 prism, which you might be thinking, that sounds like an LPVO. Well, yes, basically it is. It's a low powered optic with variable magnification, but it's a prism, so think LCAN. Difference is LCAN is 1 or 4 power. This is 1:4 power. So before we jump into this specific optic, let's talk about prisms versus your standard optics like an LPVO. So what a prism is this is made up of basically one big chunk of glass. Now, everything that I say here is general terms and not absolutes. I don't like talking to absolutes, because if I'm not educated on it and I act like it's an absolute, then I end up looking stupid and like a fool, and y'all will let me know in the comments. So this is all general terms. Nothing is absolute here. Prisms, generally made up of one big chunk of glass, whereas a standard optic is made up of a bunch of layers of glass. So what this does for a prism is it generally makes it a little bit more compact, a little bit lighter weight, because you just got one piece of glass in here instead of a series of lenses or series of pieces of glass that adds to the length of your standard rifle optic. This also lets it be a little bit lighter weight, because again, one piece of glass instead of a bunch of pieces of glass. The drawbacks of a prism is generally you're going to have a shorter eye relief. Think ACOG. You know, ACOGs, you got to run them really far to the rear. Well, that's the same here. You've got a 3-inch eye relief. And then you're typically going to have a little bit narrower eye box. Now, on this one being a 1 or 4 power, the eye box is pretty doggone generous on 1 power, but once you go up to 4 power, it gets pretty narrow trying to get a line behind the optic. And also with that being a 3-inch eye relief, same thing, it's a little bit narrow to get behind it and get a good field of view. Once you're behind it, the glass in here is phenomenal, as are most prisms. For the money, you're generally going to get better glass quality with a prism than you are another type of magnified optic. It's just the nature of things. So it ain't all sunshine and rainbows. Like I said, there's some cons to running a prism, but if you're looking for a really compact, lightweight, durable optic, a prism is a good option to look at. And I'm super excited about this one because it comes in at a fairly affordable price. Again, that's relative to your budget, but it doesn't bring in the price tag of a lot of the other high-end prisms on the market, like your ACOGs, your LCANs, what have you. But unlike, say, an ACOG, this is a variable powered prism. So I think that's super cool, and I haven't seen it done on the market before other than the LCAN. Again, that's a 1 or a 4 power. This is a 1/2/4 power, so you run it anywhere in between those magnifications. So now let's kind of break down this optic and some of the features of it. So we'll go ahead and talk about the build quality. and some of the build features. So if you see the focus ring, the magnification ring is up here on the front of it. So when you pick up this optic, you're probably going to look through it backwards. But the magnification ring is up here on the front. It's pretty stiff, but it feels solid. There's not any play in it like I've felt on some optics. It's smooth, but again, it is stiff. Hopefully that loosens up in the future. I've only got about 400 rounds through this optic and been playing with that, and I haven't felt it loosen up yet, but we'll see what happens in the future. I would not mind for that to be a little bit looser, but it's not a deal breaker for me at all. I don't mind the magnification ring being up there on the front. It looks a little bit unorthodox, but given that this is a 3-inch eye relief, having it back here would mean that your hand was right back here on your eye and pretty much in the way of your ocular lens. So having it up here on the front, you don't have to come back quite as far. You can keep your hand a little bit more forward, and it's simple, you know, just to grab it and rotate it over. So I think that's a really, really good design feature that they threw on there, and I certainly don't mind it. This does have an integrated QD mount, which is not necessarily a pro or a con. It's just subjective to what you prefer. It's just a simple throw lever mount. The return to zero on it is solid. I haven't had any issues with it. And then that mount actually runs up into the, I guess like the protective shield, if you will, this piece of machined aluminum that encases the entire optic, and that's going to give you extra protection. Prisms are already durable, but having that extra machined aluminum housing around it is just going to add to the durability and the lifespan of this optic. So I think that's a good feature. I'm sure a lot of you would probably like to see it utilize other mounts, maybe like an ACOG footprint mount, but that's not the case. So that's one fail point gone, because now the mount is integrated into here, but you're stuck with the mount and you can't really change it. You know, if you wanted to run it on like a cantilever style mount or run it on a higher mount, you can't do so. You'll just have to buy a riser for it to do so. The reticle in here is another drawback for me, sort of. It's a BDC style reticle. I think they call it like their RAPR or something like that. It's a BDC style second focal plane reticle, which isn't the worst option for an optic like this, where this is like a 0 to 300, you know, fighting style optic. But it's got 12 MOA in there at 4 power. Obviously 2 power you got 24 MOA, 1 power is 48 MOA. But say, you know, a 0 to 300 yard optic, well, 62 grain bullet, full metal jacket out of like a 16-inch barrel, 1 to 7 twist at sea level, you know, 12-inch drop is going to generally fall right around the 300 yard mark, given you have a 100 yard zero. So having 12 MOA in there, you know, is going to carry you out farther than you probably need to go with an optic like this. It's just you don't have any sort of reference in there for making it really precise shots. It's more minute-to-man, you know, combat accuracy, if you will. No ranging features or anything like that. But most people don't know how to use mills to range. I'm not even good at it. So that's a feature that's not there, but most people don't utilize it regardless. The reticle is illuminated red or green, and it is daylight bright. So it's just as simple as pressing the plus and the minus button, holding it down for about 3 seconds, and you'll change between the colors. Both colors are daylight bright, even in sunny conditions like we have today. But if you don't want to run the illumination, you've obviously got the black extra reticle in there that works perfectly fine during the day. So now just something that I wish it had is a way to mount a piggyback red dot on here. Given that this is, I think, a 1.5 height and the mount isn't interchangeable, so you can't raise it up, 1.5 is a really good height to run a piggyback dot on, and I think that will be a fantastic option, as most people are running on their LCANs and their ACOGs and other prisms on the market, is running a piggyback red dot, because like I said, that 1.5 height puts a piggyback dot in a really, really good position for a heads up shooting style. I think that would be a great option. Maybe they'll come out with that in the future. There's enough room right here, I believe, for an RMR footprint or even an acro footprint. Piggyback red dot. Run that on the rear, have a magnification dial up here on the front. I think that'd be really cool. That's one thing, just throwing it out there, Zerotech. If you're watching this, I think that having a piggyback dot would be really, really cool. I think it would sit on here well. And given that this piece right here is machined into the mount, they should retain zero really, really strong if you've got the integrated mount, because both optics would be integrated into the exact same mount. Just throwing it out there. Again, like I said, not a deal breaker for me. You could always run a 45-degree offset, and some people prefer that. I would like to see a piggyback dot. I've ran this on several rifles, put about 400 rounds through the optic itself, and I kind of landed on running it on the ACR. It just fit the best for me. I feel like it fit the rifle, fit the vibe that I was going for with this rifle. But it worked great on the ARs as well. Just a quick rundown in case anybody's curious. Yes, this is my Bushmaster ACR running the quad rail. Obviously, the new Zerotech Thrive HD 1:4 Prism. I've got some backup sights since this optic is QD and I can throw it off there in a hurry. I am utilizing some backup iron sights should the need arise to use those, but I don't think they will. This optic seems very durable. Up front, I have got the Daniel Defense Convert grip. So if you played Modern Warfare 3, the earlier 2000s version, not the remake, this was the vertical grip from that game. It's the Daniel Defense Convert grip. So you can run it in full length, or I can take it and just run it as like a short hand stop. But this is the grip that I used on there on my ACR when I was like 12 and grew up murking people on that game. And then sitting up front, I've got the Enforce WMLX. I think it's the Gen 3. This quad rail on this ACR is pretty chunky boy, but I can wrap my hand around, and it's really, really comfortable utilizing this light, and I think it looks freaking sick. Up front, I've got the rugged suppressors. This is just one of their brakes. It's a 3-port brake. It was on there when I bought it. I'm like the 4th owner of this rifle, and at some point along its life, somebody installed that, and that thing is put on there, and I cannot get it off. So I might have to hit it with blowtorch or something. Regardless, it works good, keeps the rifle flat, and I haven't suppressed it, but I would like to, because for those that don't know, the ACR is a piston-driven gun, and you've got your adjustable piston up here to run it in suppressed or unsuppressed. But I've just got to run it unsuppressed because I don't have a rugged suppressor mount to put on here, and I can't change the muzzle device. But again, my experience with it has been great. One power, really quick, really good field of view. The glass is clear, edge to edge clarity's great. Let's go ahead and load up this magazine, and let's go ahead and send one more mag through it, and then we'll close out the video. Unfortunately, I cannot run my trigger cam on it. Just the shape of this doesn't allow it, and with that 3-inch eye relief, I would be scoping myself right in the eye with that trigger cam. But let's go ahead and send some rounds, because this thing is a lot of fun to shoot. I mean, for one, this rifle is fantastic. I love the ACR. Shoots really, really well. And that's it. Coolest thing about the ACR, look at this right here. Whoop. Yeah, this optic it's nice to shoot with. It's very much so in line with like a 0 to 300 yard optic, I do believe. Alright guys, if you've got any questions about this optic, let me know in the comments and I would love to answer them. If I can't, then I can direct you to somebody that can, or you can always just reach out to Zerotech. This optic, as of filming this video, is on pre-order right now, but they should be hitting the market very, very soon, because this one showed up in like the full packaging, the whole shebang. So I think they're incredibly close on actually getting them. They're just waiting on the shipment before they actually release. But the time you're watching this video, might already be available. So go to Zerotech. I will have a code for you that you can save some monetary value, as well as some other links down there in the little links section. Might benefit you. Different websites, different companies, save you a little bit of value. I'll also have my Instagram link down there as well to make sure you stay up to date and a part of all the action going on so that you don't miss anything. Now, I think that's all I have for you. I appreciate you watching, and I will catch you on the next one.